Hi students, today we're moving on to our next My Math lesson. We're looking at two lessons today, lessons 5.5 and 5.9. Today we're adding and subtracting decimals using models. Students will be able to explore adding and subtracting decimals using models. Recall in our previous lesson, we used the actual base 10 blocks to add and subtract decimals. We're moving into something that is not as hands-on, so it's not using something three-dimensional that you can touch. We are just using paper models for this lesson. It's the same skill otherwise, though. For our first example, we're going to add 1 6/10 plus 3/10. Now, if you were still very confused on what this means, what this represents, you may want to pause the video and build that with your models, with your base 10 blocks, first. Otherwise, let's use the models to figure out what 1 6/10 plus 3/10 would equal. So I have a group of 4 hundredths grids. And if you recall from the previous lesson, one of these hundredths grids represents one whole for what we're working on. So if I'm taking 1 6/10, I want to shade in one whole, and it's not going to be perfect because that would take way too long. So we're shading in one whole grid, and then, 6/10 more. So here would be 1/10. Remember, a rod of 10 individual pieces is a tenth. 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, and 6/10. So what I have here is one whole and 6/10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now what am I adding to that? I'm adding to that 3/10 because there's a 3 in the tenths place. So I'm actually going to color in or shade in the 3/10 on this chart because I have space left. There's 1/10, 2/10, and 3/10. To find my sum, I just want to take a look at everything that I have shaded in. So I still have one whole shaded in. And now I'm going to count the combined tenths that I shaded. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I have one whole plus 9/10. And when I combine that, I get 1 9/10. All right, let's take a look at another addition problem. For this one, I'm going to add 2 16/100 plus 1 8/10. So I'm going back to my hundredths charts, okay, my grids, and I need to shade in 2 holes. Again, I'm going to just do this very quick. It's not going to be beautiful. It just needs to get the point across. 1 hole, 2 holes. And then I need 16/100. Well, 16/100 is the same thing as saying 1/10 and 6/100. So I need 1/10 and then 6/100. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In other words, it's 10 plus 6 or 16/100. All right, what are we adding to our 2 16/100? I forget. We're adding to that 1 8/10. So I need to shade in another whole. Well, I'm not going to start here because this already has some shaded in. For my whole, I'm going to go over here and shade in this hole. And then what else do I need? 8/10. That would be the rods. So I'm going to leave these little hundredths open, and I'm going to go to a full tenth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So let's figure out the total. Well, you can see I have shaded in 1, 2, 3 holes and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 whole tenths. So 9 of the tenths rods. And then how many hundredths are left over? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hundredths. So 2 and 16 hundredths plus 1 and 8 tenths is 3 and 96 hundredths. All right, let's do some subtraction now. Our first problem is 2 and 5 tenths minus 1 and 6 hundredths. So I'm going to start by modeling 2 and 5 tenths. So I have 2 holes. There's 1 hole. There's 2 holes. And then I need 5 tenths. There's 1 tenth, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so there is 2 holes and 5 tenths. Now we are subtracting this time. So what are we taking away? 1 hole and 6 hundredths. So for me to do the 1 hole minus 6 hundredths, I'm not adding anything to that. I'm taking it away. So let's start by taking away the hundredths. So 6 hundredths means that I'm taking away 6 of the small squares. Let me see if I can find my black. There it is. Now, I could erase this because it's on a whiteboard, but I'm going to cross them out just so you can see me crossing out the 6. So we need to get rid of 6 hundredths. 1, 2 hundredths, 3 hundredths, 4 hundredths, 5 hundredths, and 6 hundredths. I don't need to cross out any of the tenths, but I do need to get rid of a hole. So I'm going to get rid of this guy, that entire hole. So I crossed out 1 hole and 6 hundredths. So what am I left with? I still have 1 hole. Let's count up our tenths. 1, 2, 3. I have 4 in my tenths. And how many hundredths are left? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have 1 whole and 44 hundredths left over. 1 whole, 44 hundredths. Okay, let's do one more example. We'll do another subtraction. Let's take 1 and 43 hundredths minus 72 hundredths. First, I'm going to shade in my 1 whole and 43 hundredths. So here is my 1 whole. And I need 43 hundredths. There's 10, 20, 30, 40, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I have 1 whole, 4 tenths, 3 hundredths. What am I taking away? Taking away 72 hundredths. So I'm going to start with my hundredths and take away 2. 1, 2. Now I need to take away 7 tenths. So here's 1 tenth, 2 tenths, 3 tenths, 4 tenths, which means I have to go over to this hole and break it apart. So I had 4, I need 5, 6, and 7. So I took away 2 little hundredths and then 7 of my tenths rods. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, let's see what we're left with. I'm going to count. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 whole tenth rods. Okay, so I have 7 in my tenths. I didn't have any holes left, okay, because I took some of this one away. I have 7 tenths left over. And don't forget, I still have this little hundredth that I didn't cross out. So I have 1 in my hundredths place. So 1 43 hundredths minus 72 hundredths equals 71 hundredths. Remember that with subtraction, you can always reverse this and add to get the total. So if I wanted to check this, I could add my difference plus this part, and I should get the total, the whole. All right, I hope you found this video useful, and I will see you next time. Have a great rest of your day.